Boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Get your tea, get your sada, get your vibrator. Because Jack or CJ is about to be evicted, and we're going to crown a new head of household, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Now on Big Brother Cheesecake 4 Office Wars. Hello, I'm Andrew Chefsick Moonves. Welcome to Big Brother Cheesecake 4 Office Wars. It's day 23 inside the Big Brother Cheesecake house, Eviction Night. And in just moments, Jack or CJ will be the third house guest evicted from the Big Brother Cheesecake 4 house, lose their shot at the $400 Cheesecake Factory gift card, and be fired from Dunder Mifflin. And they will become the third operator to be evicted in a row. And yes, I've heard a lot of it at work, but it's not my fault. Who will be evicted? We'll find out shortly. But first, some interesting details about the eviction. So Jack and CJ were nominated. One of them, as most house guests had confirmed to me last night, one of them was going to be evicted last night. It was pretty certain. And then this morning, everything changed. And I want to give a bit of a background context before I get into how it changed. I said at week one that there were three interdepartment alliances. One was a trans alliance, one which collapsed earlier this week, and the people in that alliance told me that there's no actual conversation going on anymore. So it was called Musical Chairs. It's gone now. And for the record, Musical Chairs, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for the alliance name. It's an alright name. I've definitely heard far worse, and I've definitely heard better. My favorite in Cheesecake history is the alliance between Rob and Dan in Season 2 called the Bye 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 Alliance, inspired by NSYNC's Bye Bye Bye. So stupid. But it was so tacky yet so good. It was like the Quack Pack in Big Brother 14. So bad, yet so good. Yeah, so that alliance fell apart. So the first alliance that I know of from week one is still intact. And there's an opposing alliance that has come about in the last week or so, which I obviously can't say the name either. And these two alliances did agree on who to evict. Then this morning, one house guest from one alliance picks a fight with another house guest from another alliance. And through no fault of either of the two nominees, the alliance that was picked on decided, you know what, fuck them, we're going to flip the vote just because. And so again, through no fault of CJ or Jack, the vote flipped, and it's not because CJ or Jack did or didn't do anything, they were just, one of them was a victim of collateral damage and the other one got lucky. So the vote changed again this morning. So that's the way the cookie crumbles. And I'm going to get into more on the vote because there was some more details that I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, so very, very interesting. Before we get to the vote, one last piece of information. Tomorrow we are playing Prank or No Prank. All of the house guests remaining in the game except for Nick, Brenda, Megan, and should I let Megan play again just so that she can play? No, I'm just kidding. Nick, Brenda, Megan, and Ryan. Everybody except for those four. You have until, we'll say 10 p.m. tonight, Eastern Standard Time, to privately message me whether or not you are going to play Prank or No Prank. And if so, which of the 8, is it 8? I should really know this. Yeah, 8 remaining Jell-O cups you are selecting. Lemon, lime, orange, watermelon, grape, cherry, strawberry, raspberry. There's 4 pranks remaining, including the Pooh Brown Power Veto, and 4 no pranks remaining. So once again, we have lemon, lime, orange, watermelon, grape, cherry, strawberry, raspberry. Okay, now it's time to get to the eviction vote. Jack, CJ, your house guests have been voting, and I have the results. And in just a moment, one of you is going to be evicted. That person will have about 15 minutes to say their goodbyes and gather his or her belongings before kicking the fuck out of the Facebook group chat. Okay, here we go. By a vote of 7-4, Jack, you are evicted from the Big Brother Cheesecake 4 house. Jack, it's Michael. I don't fire people. I hire people. I inspire people. But in this case, Jan, that slut, she's forcing me to do this. So, you're fired. I hope we can still be friends! Jack, you got about 15 minutes to say your goodbyes before I kick you the fuck out of the Facebook group chat. Thanks for playing. Better luck next time. I will say, after Jack came into the game with reality realness, Chantal, Jojo, and Jonathan not choosing him at all, him being the last person left standing, and him being sort of having this this reputation at work of being outspoken and sassy online and tells you how it is and sort of and confrontational, arguably. I don't get that vibe, but you know, he'll give you his opinion no matter what. I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and the first week, I would say Jack stuck a bit too close to the transit operators and didn't branch out and create connections with other people. And also, Jack was safe week 1 by being in warehouse, and so I think he laid low a little too low. But in week 2 and 3, I'm going to give Jack credit. He really turned it around. He really made solid connections with people. Everybody seemed to like him in the game. I was expecting people not to like him just because, again, he's known for being confrontational. And everybody liked him. And unfortunately, it was just too little too late. He couldn't rebound from that early start. And like I said, this vote changed on the last minute just through no fault of his own. And also, Jack, honestly, you know who you should blame for your eviction? Johnny Vegas and Hector Casanova, because I asked them both to play, they both scratched their balls, they both said no, and that could have been a mega 3-person Sausage Fest alliance that didn't happen because they chose not to play. So, blame them. Okay, now it's time to get to the rules to the head of household competition. Kat, as outgoing head of household, you're not eligible to compete. Free from the threat of eviction, the head of household wins the perks of his or her private HOH bedroom and bathroom, a fruit basket with citrus, a letter from home, and the responsibility of nominating 2 of his or her fellow house guests for eviction. The winner of this competition also wins the pink properties, St. Charles Place, States Avenue, and Virginia Avenue, which will be used in a future Monopoly-themed Golden Power Veto competition. This Power Veto this head of household competition was called the Big Brother Virus. Cole's Notes version of how it works: one person, well, the mole, will infect the first house guest, who will infect another house guest while giving an antidote to somebody else to get them to the final 6. And they will continue infecting each other. Once we get to 6, then there will be 3 and 3, and then you get the drift. Okay, so is everybody ready? Oh, we got a lot to talk about on this one. Let's begin. So, the mole decides to infect Lindsay. Lindsay is infected, and she decides to give the antidote to Nick, so Nick goes to the top 6. And she infects Megan. And I'm like, you infected your own teammate, your own customer service thing? And I was like, what? And Lindsay tried to explain it to me after the fact, but I wasn't buying her explanation in your DR, Lindsay. I think what really happened, and this is a hypothesis of a lot of people, I don't know if it's true or not, but other house guests seem to comment this in the DR, that just like in Survivor Man when she stayed on the last question, Megan did not want to be head of household and asked Lindsay to infect her because I want to stay in the background. I'm tired of being in the forefront and head of household distress. Well, that strategy is like trying to like juggle knives, and it just doesn't work. So in the long run, you may want to try to win head of household. Anyway, so yeah, at the worst possible. Okay, there we go. So Megan is infected, and we have. She then decides to infect Brenda, and she gives the antidote to Curtis. Okay. Which, interestingly, is not in her department again. Okay. Brenda then decides to infect Brandon from accounting and give the antidote to Marcin. Brandon now, his choices are Ashley, Brazil, CJ, Jacqueline, Ryan, and Brandon decides to give the antidote to Lynn and to infect Ryan. And I'm like, again, infecting your own teammate. Obviously Ryan and Brandon had a fight, and that was a real fight earlier this week. But if Ryan were to win head of household, you're still safe, Brandon, even if he hates you. So of course Ryan then goes on to say, fuck accounting, I guess. I say, holy shit. Brandon. Yeah, I did it. I'm a hateful, spiteful bitch. Turns on his own department, folks, just in case you are trusting him. I don't trust you. You know what you did. Asked you for proof about your crazy Instagram shenanigans out the bowl? Yup, I did that. Which, speaking of which, Ryan, by saying asked you to proof about your crazy Instagram shenanigans, that leads me to believe that Brandon is trying to tell Ryan and everybody in accounting, allegedly, that he is guacamole. Because then Ryan asked him to prove the crazy Instagram shenanigans. And I have a picture of that, which the mole received this from Guacamole. Interesting. Then it goes on. Okay, so that, while given I'm trying to do what's best for my team, I infect Ashley and antidote Brazil. Okay, so Ashley's infected, and now the remaining two house guests before we get to the second bracket were CJ and Jack. At this point, only 4 of 11 house guests had voted to evict. And I knew at this point that the vote had flipped, and I was thinking, what if these people are waiting to see if CJ or Jack win head of household? Or, because I got a flashback of Season 3. We had an endurance competition in Season 3. Krista and Rhonda were nominated. And Krista, knowing that she's nominated, goes out in the first round, whoops, I fucked up, I'm a moron, whoopsie doodles, right? Which nobody bought that shit. And I mean, Krista is one of the most competitive people I know, and she threw so many competitions last season. And each one was a worse performance than the last. I suck at, no, what was her voice? I suck at everything. No, nobody's buying that. And then Rhonda in that competition went very deep into it. And so I thought, oh, it's not fair to Rhonda because now they're going to vote her out. In that situation, Rhonda, I think, and she agrees, Rhonda was going to go no matter what. And I found out after the fact, but I still decided to make the call that I did, and we'll get to that in a second. I found out after the fact that Jack was going to be evicted anyway, no matter what. But I decided at that point to say, you know what? We're suspending the competition until the remaining 7 house guests vote. Because it's not fair to CJ and Jack that if whichever one of them stays, because Ashley was going to eliminate one of them, whichever one of them stays, if they win head of household, now everybody switches their vote to get them out. That's not really fair. So everybody then casts their eviction vote, and then Ashley decides to infect Jack, which means CJ moves on to the next bracket. So we have our top 6. And our top 6 are, there was a long pause there, Brazil, CJ, Curtis, Lynn, Marcin, and Nick. So now, Jack is up next. Jack, is that, am I right on that? Yes. Jack infects Nick and gives the antidote to Marcin. So Nick then decides, and then Nick posts a, I don't know what those cartoon characters are called, those Facebook characters. They never turned me on, but that one actually did, so well done. Nick then infects, so we have Lynn, Curtis, Brazil, and CJ. Nick infects Lynn and gives the antidote to Curtis. So now, Marcin and Curtis are in the top 3, and Lynn must now infect Brazil or CJ. Lynn infects Brazil, which means CJ has now made it to the top 3, and we are in the final bracket with CJ, Curtis, and Marcin. And it is Brazil's turn to infect. Brazil infects Marcin, which means for the second time this season, Marcin is in between a rock and a hard place. And the plot thickens again. He has to decide to infect CJ or Curtis, giving the other one the head of household. Curtis is warehouse, which is his team, so it's guaranteed safety. But CJ is an operator, which is also pretty much guaranteed safety. And I'm sure he's getting a lot of shit at work for not using the veto on Susie week 1. And I'm getting a lot of shit at work too for the operators going one by one. But it's not my fault, it's not his fault, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. And in the end, Marcin thought about it and decided to infect CJ, which means Curtis, congratulations, you are the new head of household. When I created this competition, I never in a million years thought that at week 4, somebody who was previously head of household, like Curtis and Nick, could win again, because you would naturally want to infect. It's a good reason to infect somebody. Oh, you've already been HOH. But there were so many questionable decisions this whole game that I think it threw the whole order of Operation amok, and that's how it kind of fell on Curtis's lap that way. Not to say he was lucky, but it's just there were some weird choices throughout this whole competition. So yeah, Curtis is our first 2-time head of household. Congratulations. Curtis, you have until 10 p.m. tomorrow night, Thursday night, to privately message me your 2 nominees and a reason why. It also means warehouse, which is now just you and Marcin are safe for the week. Ryan is safe with the jury, of course. Yeah, so with that said, what will happen tomorrow in prank or no prank? Who will be tempted? Will they accept the offer? Will they get something good or bad? We'll find out tomorrow. Friday, Curtis makes his nominations and we pick players for the Golden Power Veto competition. Saturday is the Golden Power Veto rules for a brand new competition. Sunday is the Golden Power Veto results. Monday, Golden Power Veto ceremony. Tuesday, the final 2 nominees plead their case, and we learn the rules to the next head of household competition. Wednesday, 1 week from today, another house guest will be evicted, fired from Dunder Mifflin, and lose their shot at the $400 Cheesecake Factory gift card. I'm Andrew Chefs and Moonves. Take care, and we leave you as we eavesdrop on the house guest. Good night.